Chapter 1, Episode 6 to 9. Knowledge of the grandeur of the three Vedas through reading or listening. Boon given by the Devi to Madhu Kaitab. Sri Vishnu goes into Yoga Nidra and Sri Brahma sings Devi Stutis for waking Sri Vishnu. The rishis asked, O gentle and auspicious one, you have just told us that when there was only ocean and water prevailed everywhere, Sri Vishnu fought a battle for 5,000 years against two demons, Madhu and Kaitab. May it please you to tell us how such terrible and ferocious demons, whom even the gods could not defeat, came into existence. We have always desired to hear of this event, and now that you have deigned to visit us, we are taking the opportunity of asking you to tell us. We will be attentive with all our senses, especially hearing and sight. It is said that knowledge comes from hearing, and seeing is registered in the attention. It is said that there are three kinds of listening: Sattvic, Rajasic, and Tamasic. Learned men have termed the hearing of the Vedas and Shastras as Sattvic, letters and literature as Rajasic, and stories connected with fighting or exposing the mistakes and faults of others as Tamasic. They have further divided Sattvic into three degrees: excellent, medium, and low. The readings which grant moksha are considered excellent. Those which grant heaven are medium, and those which give pleasure as low or inferior. Rajas literature has also been classified into three. When the beauty and ornaments of the heroine of the drama are described, it falls in the first category of excellence. When the description is that of a courtesan or concubine, it falls in the medium class, and where it describes a hermaphrodite, it is of the low class. The three classes of Tamasic narration should be clearly understood. To listen to accounts where war has been fought against adharmic people falls into the first category of excellent. When the war is the outcome of enmity and hostility, as in the case of the Pandavas, it is of the medium class. Wars which are fought without any cause or provocation, listening to the accounts about them are of low class. Therefore, listening to Puranas is of the highest order. O learned one, be pleased to narrate those holy episodes which give us moksha. Suji said, O superior beings, that which you wish to hear and which I am eager to tell you will surely grant us both freedom from rebirth. In ancient times, all the three lokas got submerged in the primordial ocean. Only Sri Vishnu was in existence, lying on the belly of Sheshnag. Out of the wax in his ears emerged two demons, Madhu and Kaitab. Soon they grew young and powerful, and they began their escapades. They also began to wonder many things like who is in support of this ocean, who created it, and how. How did they come to be in the ocean? Who created them, and who was their father? They determined to find answers to all these questions, but they were not able to find out anything. So one day, Kaitab said to Madhu, Brother, the cause of our existence in this water is Bhagavati Shakti. She is all-powerful. She is the one who created this ocean, and she is the support. This primordial Shakti has caused us to come into existence. They were thus expressing their desire when there was a heavenly sound of a Bija mantra. The two brothers diligently repeated the sound over and over again. And then suddenly it took a shape in the sky, more brilliant and dazzling than lightning. It dawned on them that this is indeed a mantra without any doubt whatsoever. They went into meditation, and the mantra pervaded their awareness, and they got a glimpse of its qualities and attributes. They began chanting and meditating on this mantra for a full 1,000 years, having gone beyond mind and senses. They had achieved the state of being Nischint, Nirvichar, and Nirvikalp. Seeing this, Adi Shakti was filled with benevolence. The heavens were filled with the sound, Daityas, I am pleased with your tapasya. Freely ask for a boon so that I can grant it to you. Madhu and Kaitab said, O Devi, you who are easily pleased and bestows boons, grant us Svecha Maran, or death at our own desire. The Devi said, I grant you the boon that you both will die only when you desire to die. Neither the gods nor the demons can kill either of you. Sutji says, upon getting this boon, both the brothers became filled with arrogance and pride. They began to trouble all the inhabitants of the ocean. One day, they happened to see Sri Brahma seated on the lotus, and they had an urge to fight with him. They challenged Sri Brahma to fight, and if he would not fight, he should leave the Brahmasan and go away. Sri Brahma was disturbed. He did not know the exact strength of his opponents. He knew all the strategies of war, like winning the enemy by giving gifts, of inflicting chastisement, of secrecy, but not knowing their strength, it was not advisable to engage with them in war. He glanced at Sri Vishnu, who was in deep nidra on the coils of Sheshnag. He thought, Sri Vishnu is so strong, only he can protect me. But first, he has to be awakened. So Sri Brahma came down from his asana on the lotus and prostrated at the feet of the sleeping Lord. He began sthavan, hymns of praise to the Lord. But being overcome by Nidra Yoga, he could not be awakened. Sri Brahma thought, now these demons will certainly destroy me. Is there anyone who will protect me? Then Sri Brahmadeva decided to recite the Yoga Nidra Stuti to the Devi, as only she had the power to protect him. It was the Devi herself who had caused Sri Vishnu to succumb to this overwhelming deep slumber. It is clear that the Devi governs Sri Vishnu, and when he is in deep sleep, even his Shakti, Sri Lakshmi, is also governed by the same state. All the gods, including me, Shankar, Savitri, Lakshmi, and Uma, are presided over by this Sri Bhagavati Yoga Nidra, and therefore there is no one else but she who can protect me. Sri Brahma once again took his seat on the Nabhi Kamal of Sri Vishnu and began stuti of Bhagavati Sri Yoga Nidra. O Devi, you are verily the cause of the world. All the Vedas and scriptures are witness to this. You are the reason why the protector of the universe, Sri Vishnu, is lying in deep repose. O Divine Mother, you reside in the consciousness of all living things. O Bhavani, you reside in all beings in various moods and forms. No one can fathom the mysteries of your Leela. The Munis worship you in a mode called Sandhya, that is, prayers enjoined to be said in the morning, noon, and evening, and go into thoughtless awareness 3 times a day. O Mother, you abide as discretion in living beings so that they know good from evil, and the splendor and glory that the gods and goddesses enjoy comes from you, the Shri. You preside over the universe as honor, satisfaction, effulgence, intellect, affection, faith, modesty, luster, reflection, and peace. You are the mother of the universe. Even learned sages with knowledge of the Vedas have not been able to unravel your mysteries, and even the Vedas cannot contain your description, as the Vedas themselves have emanated from you. During Yagyas, when Havan is performed, the learned ones take your name as Swaha. Otherwise, the gods cannot partake of the sacrifice. It is you who gives them this privilege. Also, it is you who protects them. You have protected me once before, and now I am again in danger from the demons Madhu and Kaitab. O Devi, please release Sri Vishnu from the influence of your Maya. O most powerful one, please withdraw the power of sleep from Sri Hari, or be pleased to destroy the 2 demons Madhu and Kaitab, or I will be defeated by them. O Devi, you are the mother of the entire universe. It is your nature to fulfill the prayers of those who surrender at your lotus feet. Those who rise beyond the worship of all gods and become totally immersed in the worship and adoration of your lotus feet are indeed the blessed, virtuous, and fortunate beings of the world. Knowledge, luster, honor, and other auspicious qualities are part of you. You are the embodiment of divine beauty. One of your energies, which is Nidra, is holding Sri Vishnu captive. You are verily Bhagavati. Your Shakti envelops the entire universe as the universe was born of you. It is you who in the beginning gave Sri Vishnu the power to sustain and protect the creation. With your energy in the form of his Shakti, Sri Lakshmi, he was successful in the protection of the universe. But today, he lies inert, unable, and completely overpowered by sleep. It is clear that whatever you desire, only that happens. O Mother, if I am to survive, and if it is your holy will, please break this silence and come to my assistance. These demons are an epithet of Kal, that is Yama, and there must be some reason why you have caused them to exist. Could it be that they are here to deride and scorn me? Sri Devi, I am beginning to understand your amazing play. After completing the creation, you move freely, enjoying its beauty. Sometimes you even absorb it into yourself. You appointed me creator, and now if this creation is vanquished, it will be to my dishonor and disgrace. Suji says, when Brahma praised the Devi in this way, she withdrew from the pores of Sri Vishnu and appeared beside him in the form of Tamasi Nidra Devi, the goddess who abides in all as sleep. After this release, Sri Vishnu began to move. Seeing him awake, Sri Brahma's happiness and relief knew no bounds. He began perambulations around the Lord Sri Vishnu. The rishis made this observation. Mahabhag Suji, after hearing this episode, we are filled with astonishment and wonder. The Vedas, Shastras, Puranas, and learned men have all described Sri Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva as the most supreme, eternal, and primeval. In this entire Brahmand, there is no greater or superior being. Sri Brahma accomplished the entire creation. Sri Vishnu is the sole protector and sustainer. And at the time of dissolution, Sri Shiva annihilates and destroys. These are the three main functionaries and they act in the three modes of Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. Of the three, Sri Vishnu is considered the foremost. He is the master of the universe and is known as Adi Dev. He is all-powerful and no other god compares with him. Therefore, it is surprising to hear that he who pervades all should have got pervaded by Yogamaya Nidra. Oh please, unravel this mystery for us and tell us who this Shakti is. Who could command superiority over the Lord? How she came into being, what are her powers, and what is her description? You have unlimited knowledge, so please help us by cutting the knot of ignorance, skepticism, and wonder that is puzzling us. Suji replied, O Honorable Munis, who can accomplish this task? Narad Muni, son of Sri Brahma, sage Kapil, and other holy men have all been unsuccessful in their endeavors. This subject is fathomless and beyond thought. Who am I to even attempt? He who is the support of the earth, who is described in the Vedas as infinite and immortal, as the supreme protector, is worshipped as the Param Parameshwar of all the gods, Sri Vishnu. Then there are those who worship Sri Shiva as supreme. He is described in the Vedas as Mahadev, God Almighty, Sri Vatsala, darling of the goddess, Sarvasaha, bearer of everything, Swadrita, self-supported, Trilochana, three-eyed, Pinakapani, holding the mighty bow, and the other sacred names. He resides on Mount Kailash and goes around surrounded by bhoots. He demolished the yagya of Daksh. Those who worship him also worship the sun. He is Paramatma. Others believe that Agni worship is the best according to various mentions in the Vedas. Still others worship Indra and Varuna as most supreme. It is the teaching of Maharishis that just as the Ganga is contained in the water of all its tributaries and streams, so also Sri Vishnu pervades all the gods. In ancient times, learned men have devised various measures for determining the authenticity of a theory or a philosophy. The three main scales or measures used for comparison were Pratyaksh, cognizable by sight, tangible or perceivable through senses, Anuman, hypothesis, deduction, and Shabd, that is voice or sound. Mimamsa, one of the 6 systems of Hindu philosophy, has a reasoning whereby one topic is automatically proved with the help of another, and they have a scale of 5. Those Vedic scholars who are fully conversant with the Puranas have 7 measures for verification. That which is beyond all these scales, testimonies, verifications is Parabrahma. It is advisable that these learned men use their theories of deduction even when they experience something through their senses. disciplined and learned men have determined that Sri Brahma is endowed with the Shakti to create, Sri Vishnu to sustain, and Sri Shiva to destroy. Sage and the tortoise are supports. Fire has the Shakti to consume, and air has the energy of movement. This energy, which energizes, which gives Shakti for action, is Adya Shakti. It is by this Shakti that the gods get their godliness. Those on whom Adi Shakti does not shower benevolence, no matter who it may be, that person becomes incapacitated and inert. This Adi Shakti who exists in all beings is called as Brahma. It is desirable that all holy and learned men recognize, worship, and awaken this Shakti within themselves. If the Shakti of Vishnu is absent, he will be unable to perform the protection and preservation of the world. Similarly, Sri Brahma cannot create without Adi Shakti's energy, and Sri Shiva cannot destroy the negative forces in his Sanhar Leela, dance of destruction. All those who are still caught in the web of deductions, proofs, theories, and verifications should quickly determine this truth. It is the Adi Shakti who creates, nourishes, and dissolves. No one, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, Indra, Agni, Pavan, etc., can function independently. The existence of Adi Shakti provides the energy for their actions. Therefore, Adi Shakti is Sarvagya, all pervading, Sarvopari, almighty and above all, Parashakti. She is worshipped by holy men in two ways. Those who are desirous of perceiving her by their senses worship her in Sagun form, that is, endowed with qualities and attributes, while ascetics and detached self-realized souls worship her as Nirguna, attributeless, beyond the three gunas and three nadis. She is consciousness devoid of the qualities and attributes of the mind. She is Shamatmika, peace in her essence. Devotees with their minds at peace are her abode. She is Dharmadhara, the support of right conduct handed down by tradition in each age. She is Parabrahma Swarup, the ultimate power, the energy manifested in every particle as well as the primordial vibration is she. She is the primal power, the unitary basis of the plurality of the universe. She is eternal, uncomprehended by space and time. She is worshipped by the highest, and this is testified by all the Shastras. She is the great, immeasurable, supreme object of attention and worship. Sutji continued the narration of the destruction of Madhukaitab at the hands of Sri Vishnu. Sutji said, after Tamasi Devi Nidra withdrew her control over Sri Vishnu and assumed her form in the heavens, Sri Vishnu moved his limbs, yawned several times and sat up. He observed Sri Brahma standing before him, overcome with fear. Then the splendid, magnificent and glorious Lord, protector and guardian of the universe spoke in solemn tones. O Padmayoni Brahma, what brings you here far from your jap, silent repetition of a mantra, and tap, meditation? You seem to be in fear of something. Sri Brahma said, O Lord, two demons, Madhu and Kaitab, emerged from the wax in your ears, and they are of horrible appearance and terrible strength. They are trying to kill me, and I am overcome with fear, and my faculties are not functioning. Only you can protect me. Sri Vishnu said, come and take a seat and have no more fear. These demons have taken leave of their senses. They will definitely come here and challenge me. Sutji said, as Sri Vishnu finished speaking, the two demons, intoxicated with ego and arrogance, reached the abode of Sri Vishnu and challenged Sri Brahma thus, you have come here to hide. Do you think you can escape us? We will kill you first, and then this person who reclines on the coils of a serpent. Either you fight or surrender yourself as our slave. Sutji says, on hearing this, Sri Vishnu said to them, O gallant demons, come and fight with me. You are very strong and are filled with unbridled arrogance. Come and fight, and I will remove your conceit and false pride. On hearing this, their eyes turned red with anger. Madhu advanced first and began to wrestle with Sri Vishnu. As soon as Madhu began to tire, Kaitab would take his place. They continued to fight and were watched from the heavens by Bhagavati Shakti and Sri Brahma. The war lasted for 5000 years and Sri Vishnu began to contemplate their death. He thought, "We have been fighting for so long, but these demons have not shown signs of tiring, whereas I feel tired. This is surprising and astonishing. Where has my might and strength gone? How are these demons so tireless and fresh? What circumstance is this?" When the demons saw concern on the face of Sri Vishnu, they became overjoyed and spoke in thunderous tones. "O Vishnu, if you are tired and cannot fight anymore, bow your head and with folded hands acknowledge that you are our slave. If you still have any strength left, come and fight and we will kill you." Sri Vishnu was seated on the deep and bottomless ocean. He listened to the spiteful and malicious utterances of the two demons and then in sweet tones, Madhurya, he spoke thus. "It is an ancient Maryada that when fighting a war, brave warriors do not attack an opponent who is tired, frightened, whose weapons have fallen, who himself has fallen, or who is still a child. On this battlefield, I have fought with you for 5000 years alone, and without a break. You two brothers of equal strength have been resting in turns. If I also rest, I can continue fighting." Suji said. Upon hearing this, the two demons went and stood afar, waiting for the fighting to resume. Sri Vishnu began to fathom the reason why the two demons seemed to be indestructible. Then he knew that Sri Bhagavati had granted them the boon that they will die only when they desire it. That is the reason why they are so bold and arrogant, and it has become their goal to keep troubling me. I cannot cross the boon given by Sri Bhagavati, so I must find a way to make them desire death. That will be difficult because even a terminally ill man or one who has suffered misfortune does not desire death. Therefore, the only way is to prostrate at the lotus feet of the all-knowing, all-powerful goddess who readily responds to the prayers of her devotees. Even as he was contemplating this, that goddess whose resplendent form pleases her devotees appeared as Bhagavati Yoganidra in the heavens, where she had just withdrawn from the sleeping Vishnu. Sri Vishnu immediately recognized the goddess Bhuvaneshwari and began a stuti for the destruction of Madhu and Kaitap. The Devi smiled and said, "Vishnu, you are the master of the universe. Now get prepared to fight the battle anew. These two demons can only be destroyed by deception. I will cause them to fall into illusion and delusion, and then you can vanquish them." Hearing these soothing and loving words, Sri Vishnu went back to continue the fight. The demons fought fiercely, and at one stage Sri Vishnu cast a glance at the Devi. She immediately laughed aloud. Her eyes became red, and from her eyes she slanted glances towards the demons. The glances were even more powerful than the arrows of Kamadev, god of love, and conquered the demons with the delusion of allurement. They were completely overcome by lustful and adulterous thoughts. They were completely overcome by the brilliance and effulgence of the form they beheld. Sri Vishnu, who is aware of the innermost emotions, recognized that the demons were under the illusion and confusion created by the Devi. He smiled and spoke to the demons thus, "O courageous and brave demons, ask for any boon you wish. I have fought with many demons from ancient times and have never met or seen any as strong and powerful as you two brothers. I am pleased. I will fulfill any desire you may have." Suji says, the demons were filled with longing. Their eyes were fixed on the joy-giving form of Bhagavati Mahamaya. The haughty and conceited demon said, "We have not come to ask for favors. What can you give us? We are not suppliants. We are the benevolent givers. You can ask us for a boon. We are pleased with your performance in the war." Sri Vishnu said, "If you can give me a boon, grant that you accept your death at my hands." The demons were astounded and realized that they had been trapped. They looked around in despair. Suddenly, they saw that they were surrounded on all sides by the waters of the Bhavasagar. There was no land in sight. They got an idea. They said, "O Janardhan, you had also promised to grant us a boon, and you always honor your promise. Therefore, grant us also a boon. Kill us in a place completely dry and devoid of water. We accept our death at your hands, but you must fulfill our wish." The Lord Sudarshan beckoned his Sudarshan Chakra. Then he laughed aloud and said, O fortunate ones, I am killing you on exactly such a place, dry and devoid of water. He lifted them out of water and showed them his lap, which was perfectly dry. He then said, Now prepare to die, and henceforth both you and I will be known for honoring our promises. The two demons, whose bodies were 2 miles long, accepted their death. The Sudarshan Chakra cut off their heads, and their souls left their bodies. The whole ocean became diffused with their blood and marrow. From then on, the name of the earth became Medini. Suji says that is why eating of mud is prohibited. Munis, whatever you want to know, I have tried my best to narrate to you. From all this, it is clear that Vidya Swarupini Mahamaya should forever be worshipped. The greatest truth is that in all the three worlds, there is no one greater than Sri Bhagavati. The Vedas and Shastras bear testimony to this. Whether in Sagun form or in Nirgun formless, this Parashakti must be worshipped.